And there we are. Okay. At this time, I am declaring that we have a quorum present. All 5 members are present on video, and this meeting is called to order. So, is there any addition to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, this is
Yeah.
Donna Duncan. I do not believe we have any speakers for today.
Okay, so I was wondering that, and that sounds just fine. Actually, looking on here, wait a second, we are. Turning my volume up here. My wife, unfortunately, has really good hearing, and I'm using her computer, so it's turned way down.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't know that it's an addition to the agenda, but at some point, and it could be late, much later on, and even in the number 13 speakers, I'd like a few minutes to say a few words, not about a specific issue, but SBE in general.
Of course. We can move it down where you suggested. We'll
Okay, thank you.
The chairman's remarks shown here, I'm going to move them down as well. And you can either proceed or follow, whichever you find convenient. So we'll do that. Absolutely. PJ, don't let me forget, I might forget, just kind of move on. I'm hoping somebody's going to go, wait, you forgot PJ. So.
Have you ever known me not to speak up?
Good point. Okay, next item, approval of meeting minutes for January 12th, 2021. I believe these were circulated. Am I correct about that? I am. Members are indicating they have received them.
Yes, they were sent on February the 4th.
Okay, and does anyone have any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 12th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next item, approval of minutes of closed meetings. Those were circulated some time back, actually. And for whatever reason, we ran out of time, or I don't know why we didn't do them before, but we didn't do them before. So we're going to do them now. They have been circulated. Members have had an opportunity to read through them. If anyone does have a question or issue about them, we will have to address that, I think, in closed meeting. So does anyone, in fact, have any corrections or changes to the closed meeting minutes? Hearing none, then the chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed meetings as distributed previously by the deputy administrator. May I have such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, and the closed meeting minutes are approved. As I indicated, I'll move chairman's remarks down further in the agenda, which brings us to the next item, and that will be administrator's report. And just as a reminder to the staff, I kind of punched myself in the head a couple of times for not doing this a year and a half ago, but we're not read them verbatim anymore, as we've not been doing for the last couple of meetings. Hit the high points. I would note for the record that the document has been distributed in full to all the members, and it is publicly available. So there's no information here that is going unnoticed. The members have had an opportunity to review this. And what I'm asking the staff to do now is they go through, hit the high points, tell it in your own words. And with that, who's going to handle the administrator's report at this point?
I'm going to start off with your permission.
Yes.
As all of you know, this is Mike's last meeting, according to him. We want to recognize him in several ways. One, by our heartfelt thanks for your leadership especially last year. It was a difficult time for all of us, and I think that we all pulled together. It took a village, and things went really remarkably smooth. I think the participants, i.e. the voters, were interested, enthusiastic, and informed, and that was in large part, Mike, to you and the board actions during the past year to get prepared for, especially the general election. So for me to you, thank you for what all of you that you've done. The second thing is we have a citation from the governor, and I would like to read it. Be it known that on behalf of the citizens of this state, in recognition of your outstanding service and commitment as chairman for the Maryland State Board of Elections, with grateful appreciation for the integrity and leadership you have demonstrated on behalf of the state and local election officials conducting elections during a global pandemic, and as our citizens join in expressing our great respect and admiration for your positive contributions to our state and nation, we are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation. So you will be getting, if you haven't already, the very lovely hard copy of the citation, which you can then frame and hang on your wall as you get on your computer down in your new home, and you can look up on your wall and remember all of us and the fond memories that you had for 2020. The other thing is, as you know, Kelly has also left us, and the governor also issued her a citation. Be it known that on behalf of the citizens of the state, in recognition of your outstanding service and commitment as a valued member of the Maryland State Board of Elections during the past 5 years, with grateful appreciation for your dedicated efforts on behalf of the people of Maryland, and as our citizens join together in expressing our admiration and great respect for your positive contributions to our state and nation, we are pleased to confer upon Kelly this governor's citation. So she will also receive a hard copy of that, and we all at the staff here at the State Board also want to express our appreciation to her for her service on the board. Before I turn this over to Nikki, we do have one sad thing to report to you all. Garrick Hendricks, who was the tech for Calvert County, unfortunately passed away on February the 5th from COVID-19 complications. Yeah, it's very sad. Garrick, also known as G, started as a county tech for the Calvert County Board of Elections in 2004, and then was hired full-time as a county, as a board employee in 2005. He was the current chair of the Maryland Association of Election Officials Election Technology Committee, and a prior recipient of the Calvert County Government Employee of the Month Award. According to Gail Hatfield, who is the election director for the Calvert County Board of Elections, Garrett was always there for anyone who needed him and will be missed more than words can say, on both a professional and a personal level. Garrett was a kind man, a dedicated election official, a veteran, and the life of the party at Mayo conferences. He leaves behind his loving partner, Rochelle, his children and grandchildren, and we at SBE will miss him too. So it was very sad news to hear about Garrett. He was a really good guy. So
Yes, he was. Yeah.
yeah,
I've known him a long time. He was always available.
yes, and always willing to help. So sad news indeed.
It is.
So with that, I will turn it over to Nikki to start the administrator's report.
Thank you, Linda, and I echo your comments about Mike and your chairmanship, so thank you. So just wanted to highlight a few things on starting off the administrator's report. We alerted you last month that we would be briefing the 2 subject matter committees in the legislature. We've done that, and in the packets you have, it's the House Ways and Means briefing packet, but it was identical to the Senate with some minor changes, so they're substantively the same. So one, it just says Ways and Means, but you can consider that to be both. We had a regular election directors meeting. We're back to meeting monthly, which is a nice change from when we were meeting weekly last year. But we're back to our monthly schedule. And then last week, Linda and I participated in the National Association of State Election Directors winter meeting. It was a virtual meeting like everything else. And so it was a good every afternoon for 5 days. We were with our colleagues from around the country, in some ways reliving last year, which caused a little bit of PTSD, I think, for some of us hearing about it. But it's always good to hear that you're not alone and we were all facing the same trials and tribulations. I would like to point out that there were 3 state election offices that were also dealing with natural disasters last year. So for as difficult as it was for us, we didn't have a tornado, we didn't have forest fires, and we didn't have a hurricane. So it was a good conference. Just wanted to point out that we just last week posted on our website a comprehensive report on the November election, which I shared with all of you before it was posted. It's linked under our press room, and it just sort of memorializes the various aspects of the election, put some data in there, shows some changes, and it puts out some future considerations for elections. So that's there for you to read or for anybody else to read who wants a relatively quick-ish review of the election. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy to give the update on the audits.
Thank you. Josie?
Thank you. So just a quick update on the manual audit. Last month, I reported that they had begun, that we had, I think, our first one at that point. As of today, 15 local boards have completed their manual audit. So there are 9 more to go, and they'll be completed by the end of the month. After that, I will produce a report that summarizes those manual audits and the results. So far, the audit has done what it was supposed to do, which is verify the outcome of the election. By the time you meet next month, that report will be completed, so I'll be able to present that to you then. That's all I have, so I'm going to turn it over, I guess, to Mary.
So Mary is actually not here. She has a competing meeting. So you have in the report her summary. The highlight for this is that the work to plan all of the database changes for 2021 occurred at the end of January. That's a huge effort by the voter registration division, both on the policy side as well as the IT side, and want to recognize them for pulling that together and laying out a plan for all the development that's scheduled. Basically, it's the development scheduled for the 2022 elections. So a lot of work on redistricting and GIS, being able to import that data. And would just refer you to the rest of the report on voter registration. And I'll turn it over to Jared for his summary.
Jared, hang on just for a second. I just have a quick
Yeah.
question. Someone asked me this. I didn't know the answer to it. Do we have data on how many ballots were delivered, via the net delivery ballots? How many were requested and how many were returned? Do you have that data?
Yes, I do. We do have that data, so I can provide that to you. Mhm. I don't have it with me right now, but yes, we do show how many were delivered electronically, and then how many that were delivered electronically were returned by mail, obviously.
Okay, is that published out anywhere?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right. If you would, let me know, what those numbers were. I'm sorry, Jared. I just wanted a quick question if we move too far along.
I have one question too, if I could. Sorry. Nikki, and you may not know this, but I know we used to, as part of this report, get the non-citizen voting, non-citizen numbers, and I'm wondering if we will be getting that for the next meeting. I know that we didn't do that for a period of time with the election, with everything that was going on, and I'm wondering when that'll be added to this report.
Yeah, we can look into that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Just some of the highlights, the candidacy filings can begin on February 23rd. We're going to have an appointment-only process for filing certificate of candidacies at the state board. Individuals will have to have their financial disclosure statements and their statement of organization already established prior to coming in to limit contact as much as possible. And there is no appointment needed or in-person meeting needed to establish a campaign committee. So that can be all done online right now. Campaign finance, the 2021 annual report was due last month on January 20th, and we're just going after the non-compliant committees with notices now. Enforcement, that's all in the report there for you for you. And I just wanted to remind the board members that you need to file a financial disclosure statement with the State Ethics Commission, and that the deadline is April 30th. That goes for you, Chair, as well. You have to file your last one as well, your one. So, and then I'll turn this over to Keith or Shafiq.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Shafiq is on. So you have in the report just voting system upgrade. We're just starting to plan for that. And then I'll turn it over to Keith.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me. Just a couple of things inventory management wise. The FY21 inventory audit started on February 1st. We requested an extension from DGS in order to start on February 1st, in order to allow the local boards to not have to touch the equipment more than once. One for the post-election maintenance, one for the inventory audit. So we're in the process right now, the local boards are doing their audits. And then on the poll book project, the deadline did come and go for the receiving of the responses for the poll book solution. We received 5 responses. 4 of them are susceptible for award. The other one was not. So the evaluation committee is currently in the process of evaluating those responses. The evaluation period will go through mid to later on in April with all the different steps that are involved. And then finally, just want to bring on that we're going to be adding the Agile coach sometime next week to the project team that will assist with the entire implementation phase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred, do you want to give your highlights?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing that happened since the last board meeting was we were able to conduct a full-scale failover from our new primary data center to our disaster recovery data center. That went very well. It happened the week of February 1st. Everything functioned as expected, and we were able to fail back to the primary center on Friday of that week, and that also went well.
Okay. And I believe that concludes the administrator's report, correct?
The last section is just legislation. So
Of course.
Donna and Jared are here if you have questions about specific pieces of legislation or however you'd like to proceed with the legislation. There's obviously a lot that Donna is sending you updates on by email.
Do any of the members have any questions about, we received it, actually, I think it came out at 2 a.m. or so, so I doubt if anybody was sitting by their computer waiting for it at the time. But we did receive it. It is an update. Now, let me ask the members something. Obviously, the administration is continuing to monitor legislation as it's going along, but the next meeting of the board won't be until late March. Would it be useful for the members to have like a, I don't know, weekly email to keep you informed of what's going on with the legislature? Would you like to have that? Don't everybody speak at once?
I would.
Okay, Malcolm indicated he would, and Bill, yeah, go ahead.
Question. There are a few election bills introduced this session.
You think?
as everybody saw. Could you kind of narrow it down to the ones you think are most impactful and most likely to move? I know that may be a somewhat opinion, but there are so many, and many of them duplicative, some of them actually contradictory.
Donna?
This is Donna, and I'm sure Jared, this is a list that I set up, and I get the email that I forwarded to everyone this morning is sent daily. So it gives you the status of the bills. So we can create a additional list with some highlighted bills. And Jared and I can go through and figure out which ones are certainly moving and have, go ahead.
I think right now that the subcommittee and voting sessions are starting to occur, we're going to start seeing the list narrow down for us automatically by that.
And I don't want you to put a lot of time or effort into it. Just if you, as a normal course of action for your own monitoring, are narrowing it down, you could just share that. But don't do anything extra.
Okay.
You got enough to do.
Does anyone know if Mayo or any other body, including our own, has taken or has any feelings to take positions on any of these, or are they not ripe for that yet?
We work closely with Mayo's legislative board, so they do take positions. They sometimes oppose or support legislation and offer testimony with informational only. So we do work closely with Mayo on these bills.
Do you know if they're in support of or in a defiance of any of the bills in particular right now?
How about we pull together Mayo's testimony and share that with you after the meeting?
Thank you.
Yes.
Does that work for you, Bill? AJ, that good for you?
Yes.
Okay. Malcolm, good.
Yeah.
All right. Deborah, you too,
Yep.
Okay. So we'll do that and proceed that way on the bills then. So with that, I think we've covered the legislative aspect of the administrator's report. Okay. And that will then finish that item off. Item number 7, Assistant Attorney General's report. Andrea.
Just looking for my mute button. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have very much of an update this week. There are on the file that I circulated, there are only 4 matters. The first 2 matters, the Fusaro and the Johnson matters, there are no updates from the last time we met to provide. The National Federation of the Blind case, the stay of discovery that was put in place and extended once to facilitate settlement discussions has been extended again. It is set to expire next week, but those discussions continue. And so that's the update for that case. And finally, in the Chung-Soo Yi matter, Mr. Yi filed an appeal in the fall to the Court of Special Appeals in the 4 cases that he brought pro se in Montgomery County. He appealed each of those cases. He also sought leave to file without having to pay a filing fee. That was denied, and Mr. Yi did not subsequently pay the filing fee, and so the Court of Special Appeals dismissed his appeals, I should say, and he has now filed a petition for writ of certiorari to the Court of Appeals, seeking review of those dismissals. So that is the update in that case, and with that, I have nothing further.
Okay. Any questions for the Assistant Attorney General? None. Okay. Next item is number 8, approval of late fee waivers. This will obviously be Jared. Well, it's obvious to me at this point. Anyway, Jared, and just as a reminder to the board, we approve or disapprove the waivers, but the imposition of fines is something that the administration has been delegated, and the administration handles that on its own. We don't vote on that. So this is merely a approval of the waivers, assuming we approve them.
Correct. Yes, right. So in front of you are 10 waivers for approval. I submit them to the board for to approve the recommendation of the state administrator on those. And the other 7 denials are for your edification and just, that you have that a part of your record, but the board doesn't need to take any action on those. So for the 10, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I submit it since it's been sent to you beforehand. I don't need to go involved in each of the 10 and the rationale behind them. So they're there for you.
Anybody have any questions about any of those specific? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Jared, Leadership with Integrity PAC. The reason for the waiver, the request of a waiver, the PAC has never had any money and has always reported affidavits of limited contributions and expenditures since its inception. The PAC bank account has been closed as of last spring, 2020. Don't they have to file, basically end the committee? I don't know, I'm not using the right term, close
Yeah,
out.
they should file a closeout report.
Termination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they should, but sometimes people or PACs, they have these ideas and then they want to keep it going. They like the name, so they'll just keep filing these affidavits. But basically for the $40 late fee on this here, with everything, we know that the state prosecutor is not really going to go after them for $40. And basically we're going to contact the PAC's chair and ask them, what do you plan on doing with this PAC? It's now been over 3 years or close to 3 years since you've existed. And it seems like you've never raised any money or had any bank accounts here. So I think it's time for them to possibly close, but we'll contact them about that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, anything else on the late fee waivers? Hearing none. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the late fee waivers as presented in the packet and which is available on our website. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The late fee waivers are approved. Next item is item number 9, approval of administrative closure of campaign entities. And that one has got to be Jared.
Yes, so there are 2 committees in front of you. One, Ulysses Curry, the candidate, had died, and also that account was involved with a theft, and the person that had to make, restitution back to the campaign, and that was subsequently moved over to the state board with the help of the state prosecutor's office, has died as well. We are working with the chair and the treasurer to get the remaining balance of $4,000 plus was actually donated to an Alzheimer's charity, and they just didn't put it on the report. We have verified this. We're getting the bank records to verify it, and so everything with the state prosecutor has been well aware of this matter, so that they are in agreement to close this account. And then the other one is Friends of Pamela Otis. And that was basically the state prosecutor's office has declined to prosecute this account here. And the only outstanding issue with this one is the fact that they never filed a closeout report and then subsequently had $2,000 in late fees. So since they don't want to prosecute it, and for their reasons, we want to just close it out at that point as well. So those are for you to close.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
With this last one, not the first one, but with this last one, if this person would like to either run for office or create a new PAC or whatever it would be, are they able to do that, or would this come up again?
So with this here right now, they would be able to, because all the late fees are no longer associated with the candidate and the treasurer, those two individuals would be now back in good standing. But since the state prosecutor has pretty much declined to prosecute them, they may have reasons to try to think that they're in good standing already. So, but yes, they would be able to run again.
Any other questions for Jared?
That rubs me the wrong way. I get not wanting to prosecute. I have no problem with that. It just seems to me we should have, if somebody creates a campaign account, runs for office, doesn't pay their fines or bills, doesn't close out properly, if they then would like to run again 3 years, 4 years later, and they create a new account, they start from zero. That doesn't seem patently fair to me. I don't know how you all feel about that. I don't know if there's any other mechanism or anything we can do about that, but that just seems problematic and wrong to me. I don't know what you all feel.
Well, I think all of us understand what you're saying, but the question would come down to the statute and the regulations. And if the statute and regulations permit this, then we don't really have discretion in that sense. And I'm assuming, because I've been doing this for a while, and I'm assuming the statute and the regulations, in fact, dictate this. Would that be right, Jared?
Yes, right. We don't have any control over, we can't impose a different penalty on them and saying that they can't run again for another 2-3 years or anything on that front.
So this is one of those board issues that.
Well, what if we don't close it out? What if it remains open, but we're just not prosecuting? Would they then have to settle it before they could run again?
So the fines would probably run on the statute of limitations, and then basically we would keep on sending stuff up to the state prosecutor's office, where they would keep on sending us letters that we have declined to prosecute, and please stop referring this matter to us. Which is, we don't usually want to get to the point where they don't accept our referrals.
I am willing to table this particular map. Bill, if you want to kind of investigate it a little bit further, talk.
Sure.
Well, I would ask Andrea if there is anything, statutorily, if there's anything about that, or is this a loophole that we should look to help to close up in subsequent years?
Bill, I'd have to investigate that. I don't know chapter and verse. I can't recite to you the provisions and tell you what they mean. Just sitting here right now. I'm happy to take a look and explore it.
I guess, this is kind of like the last resort to administratively close these accounts. Usually it's because we can't get in touch with the responsible officers, and it's been sent to the state prosecutor for some sort of action. It's not something that we take lightly or do frequently, like the waiver process. This is kind of, we want these accounts off our books, and we just have some difficulty here. So this one here was basically that the office felt that the state prosecutor's office believed that they didn't even have to open up the account and didn't want to prosecute it whatsoever. And the violations are from 2018. So they're getting to the point of little bit, some of the violations are already running the statute of limitations for the state prosecutor if we even kept it going.
So my feeling would be that I would be willing to vote for the administrative closing, but I would ask if Andrea could let us know what would need to be amended or changed. That's something that I might be able to look into to how we could handle this in the future, where if we had people who we declined to prosecute, no problem, but that if they want to run again, they have to get right with the board, however that needs to be worded. I wouldn't have any problem trying to push that through. That just seems fair to me.
I can work with Andrea on that as well and get back to you on how to best approach that.
Thank you.
So Bill, as I understand from what you were saying, is that you would not be opposing this particular closure. You want to investigate the issue further in general, not specifically as to this account.
Right.
Okay, so we will not table it then. Does anyone else have any other questions or issues? All right, based on that discussion then, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the administrative closure of the campaign entities which have been under discussion in which the board was made aware. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The campaign entities are approved for closure, administrative
Thank you.
closure. Next item. Also, Jared, approval of confidentiality request. The confidentiality request has been distributed to the board. There's been an opportunity to review it. Jared, unless you have some comments to make about it, does anyone have any questions for Jared about it? All right. Jared, anything you believe you need to say about it?
No, I think the form speaks for itself and the information speaks for itself.
And my usual question, you verified that the exception in fact is warranted in this instance.
Yes.
Okay, I always like to get that on the record. That we don't just willy-nilly do this stuff. With that and no further discussion, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the confidentiality request as presented to the board and distributed to the board. May I have such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Second. Aye.
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 Opposed? None. The confidentiality request is approved. Does anyone have any old business to bring up? Anyone have any new business to bring up? And PJ, we'll put you in on this one. We don't have any speakers. You can be new business. How's that sound?
That's perfect.
Okay, you're on.
Thank you. Since this is your last meeting, I wanted to take a minute or two to make some comments. I want to thank Chairman Cogan for his long and distinguished service on the State Board of Elections. You have always been thoughtful, even-handed, hardworking, and just a great colleague to work with. While by statute, the SBE members are appointed based on party affiliation, it stops there. We have always acted in a nonpartisan fashion and based our decisions on what we think is best to facilitate an open, fair, and secure election. The only way I think anyone would know Chairman Cogan's party affiliation would be to listen to his campaign contributions at the end of each meeting. Other than that, you'd have no idea. But that's pretty clear where he is. but he never brings that to the decisions that the board has to make. And I've had the honor and privilege and pleasure to serve as his vice chair. And I want to thank him for being so inclusive, willingness to listen to my sometimes bizarre comments, and you have led this board in an incredibly honorable and outstanding manner, and that would be in normal times. Then to pile on top of that the demands of running 3 elections in, I think, an 8-month period. I lose track of time because we were meeting every week, it seemed like, if not more. But to hold 3 elections in an 8-month period and then pile on top of that a pandemic, probably the most overused word, but I don't know about it, unprecedented. And I'll say it, I said it once before, I'll say it again, and unmitigated success. I don't mean that's the term we should use for your chairmanship of the State Board of Elections, but it has been an unmitigated success. You rose to the challenge and you provided the board with, you are very calm and steady under trying circumstances. I'm guessing that's your military training, and we appreciate that. So I just wanted to let you know how much I've enjoyed working with you and how much I appreciate the leadership you have provided to this board. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I like to ditto that. Mike, it's been a pleasure working with you. And something that PJ said, you would never know what your party affiliation was except at the end of the meeting with your numerous contributions. But it's been a pleasure and a joy, and I've learned a lot under your tutelage. I don't know if I'll retain it, but I've learned a lot. And it's been my pleasure have been, to have worked with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If I could, it's been an honor to serve with you, and I appreciate both your leadership and your friendship. And I didn't know you before I came on the board, and I haven't been on all that long, but consider you my friend, and consider all the board members friends, and have gotten to know you all through a trying time. And I appreciate your thoughtfulness and your thoroughness. It does not go unnoticed. You're a good egg.
Thank you.
We appreciate you very much, and very, very sorry to see you go.
And
but I know you're going to have fun in the South.
He will have a good time in the South. He will not have fun because I'm remaining here.
True enough. True enough.
I hardly need to say that you're absolutely the best chair I've experienced on the State Board of Elections. So,
well, listen, I truly do appreciate everything everyone has said. And I do have a few comments to make under the chairman's remarks. I think first, probably, well, I'm actually serious all the way through, but in thinking in broad terms, I've said this before in meetings, and it bears mentioning again. There are probably maybe 40 to 50 people in the state of Maryland who know how to run an election. There are thousands who know how to run in an election. There are millions who know that elections take place and how to vote. But to actually run an election, the number is minuscule. And the longer I served on this board, quite frankly, I mean, I was under no illusion about running in an election and running an election when I started on the first day. I knew there was a difference, but I got to tell you that I have the number of people I think who can do it in the state of Maryland has gotten progressively smaller each year. Not because people are moving out of state or something. It's because I realized how incredibly difficult it is to run an election. And it's difficult in its own way to be the board of directors for the people who are running an election, because you've got to catch up on things. Now, we've been fortunate because we have this terrific state staff who go out of their way, and you know, in the pandemic, it's a lot harder for them to do it. And I say go out of their way, perhaps the better word is they very competently, enthusiastically, very carefully carry out their duties. And anytime one of us on the board, the whole time I've been on the board, had a question or an issue, all we had to do was ask. And the staff would sit down. This is when we used to be able to sit down and have an office to go to. And I can remember I had a question, I think it was on the poll books. And I raised it and said, I'd really like to learn more about it. And next, within days, I was sitting in an office with technical experts and, a device sitting in front, and we're going through the whole thing, and I'm learning. That's critical for a board of directors, that you have people that not only can teach you, but they're willing to teach you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't have that opportunity and misapprehend how hard it is to run an election. And it's even harder if you intend that the elections, and this is something that I have said, and it applies to everyone who has any piece, any touch on the election system, that these elections not only have to be fair, but everyone, the whole body politic, not a piece of the body politic, but the whole, the entirety of it, has to believe that this was a fair and honest election. Regardless of their feelings about the outcome, that goes with the territory in an election. There's going to be a winner and a loser. But the question is, does everybody feel that it was fair and honest? And anytime we do anything with the election system, anything that we do with the state or local board of election, I believe the touchstone has to be, do we violate that primary rule? Do we violate the rule that it is necessary that they be fair and honest? But that's not sufficient. They must be seen to be fair and honest. So that's what I leave you with in terms of a broad concept, but not what I leave the folks I'm looking at. Oh no, because I too have been sitting here thinking about the fact that I'm leaving. And while I'm not going to be able to do things as smoothly as I would like, I do want to make a few comments about the people that I have worked with. And it actually is to some degree in a particular order. First, our Assistant Attorney General, Mr. Trenthill. Now, I don't know if you know about this yet. I don't know if your boss has told you this yet, but I sent a letter to him. And in that letter, and I'm going to read it because if I don't read it, I just end up saying the same stuff anyway, and it's a lot easier just to read the darn thing. And this is the letter that I sent. Dear Attorney General Frosh, as I finish my term as chairman of the State Board of Elections, I wish to commend Assistant Attorney General Andrea Trenthill for his exemplary work with the board during the period of the 2020 elections. His efforts and counsel were invaluable to me and the administration during the unprecedented and tumultuous period of the 2020 election cycle. I cannot express how greatly I came to depend on him as we went through this period, He not only met, but exceeded the highest standards for counsel of the board. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have worked with him. Very truly yours, Michael R. Cogan, Esquire, Chairman, Maryland State Board of Elections. Now, Andrea is everything that I said in that letter, but he was a little bit more than that, because one of the phrases that Andrea will hope to never hear again in his professional career, but which he heard incessantly for over a year, under a year, was this: don't tell me what I can't do. Tell me how to legally do what it is I want to do. And he was terrific at handling me when we had those moments. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Mike. Those are incredibly kind words, and I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate your kind words, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and your dedication to this role has been exemplary. And so I will certainly look back on our time together on this board during this period with much fondness, even if some of the times were pretty harrowing, but it's been a wonderful opportunity to work with you as well. But I really appreciate those kind words. Thanks.
You're welcome. And now our vice chair, Mr. Hogan. Other than Linda and Nikki, I'm not sure that anyone else is aware of how closely he and I worked together over the past year. He has certainly indicated he thinks well of me. I think equally well of him. His ideas, his counsel, his articulate discussion of the myriad issues we faced were invaluable. Now, that's what I have written down. You don't know a person professionally until you've been with them in a situation where you're talking about, can we prevent so many people from dying and carry out our mission anyway? PJ and I had those discussions. We weren't the only ones that had. We had those discussions. And there were actions that we were able, not actions, but the way that we could proceed to look at problems came out of some dark places, some dark times. And that's when you know a person. I said once to Linda and Nikki in another conversation, coming from my military background, do you want this person on your flank? Can you depend on them? Are they going to collapse? Or are they going to stand there and fight it out and make sure that your left and your right are not going to get overrun? And PJ was a guy who stood there and fought. My colleagues on the board, Kelly, unfortunately not here. Malcolm and Bill. Were sources of strength. With Malcolm and Bill, the strength went beyond some of the things that we would otherwise do. Their strength, in part, was in their faith, and they shared that, and I appreciated it. And again, it's when you stand with people, when you're facing the dark and the unknown, and you look to see who's still with you. And they were always with us. There is not a person on the board that I have not learned from. Not one person whose dedication to the cause of fair and honest elections I ever questioned. I spoke to Dave McManus the other day to tell him how much I appreciated his counsel over the years when he was on the board. And I appreciated the counsel of my colleagues during the years that I served with them on the board. I've already talked about the state board staff. They're terrific. They're highly competent, they're knowledgeable, they're efficient, and they are a credit to the administrator. One of my great regrets in leaving is that I cannot walk through the halls of the office and shake each person's hand. All of you made my job easier. All of you. The local boards, the election directors and their staffs bore the brunt of the effort, of course. They were our frontline troops. They were magnificent from the special congressional election right through the presidential general. Again, for those of you who are listening, I wish I could shake all your hands. I treasure the opportunity I had to visit many of the polling places throughout the state and meet so many of our local board people, election directors, our election judges. It was a wonderful opportunity. And I have to go with the Bay view. The Forest view is close, but I got to go with the Bay. Now, there are about 5 people in Maryland who know what I was just talking about, and that's okay. They know. Nikki was, from my point of view, was a linchpin in the entire operation. And very early on, right at the beginning, and then throughout, much along the lines that she talked about, I said, this is a crisis. We aren't operating as normal. Mistakes will be made. Things will go wrong. And many events will be beyond our control. But we identify the problem, we adapt, we move on, and we accomplish the mission. I repeated that many times. Nikki was literally near exhaustion at the end. A couple of times, I tried to order her to get more rest, but she ignored me. And what could I do? I don't have direct line authority over her, and I couldn't send her home to go to her room. She was already home in her room. She is smart, knowledgeable, articulate, and I cannot overstate my respect and admiration for her. And I cannot overstate what she brought to the table. She's one of the people who stands facing the dark, and you know they're going to be on your flank, and they're not going to break. They may die, but they won't break. Linda. When Linda and I appeared at the joint committee hearing after the primary, during some very dark days, for both of us, I had anticipated that I would be asked if I had confidence in the administrator. I was, in fact, never asked that question, but I had prepared an answer. And I believe that now would be a good time to read that answer in part. So this is from part of what I would have answered to that question at the committee. I was at all times utterly confident that these would not be perfect elections. I was also at all times utterly confident that our state and local boards could accomplish the mission. I will at some point move on from the State Board of Elections. And if at some future time I end up as the chairman of the board of directors of an organization, and that organization finds itself in a crisis situation during which their normal procedures are scrambled, their workspaces are evacuated, They have little control over the crisis, no control over the timing of events, but subject to severe time constraints. And they must accomplish their mission. It is my hope that the organization will be led by someone like Linda Lamont. And I might add, staffed by people like those at our state and local boards of elections. Which brings me to, finally, but not least, not by a long shot, our election judges and the voters. No success was possible without them, and every success was possible with them. I am reminded when I look at the people here, when I think of the people I met as I went around the state, the board staff, of lines from Henry V. We few, we happy few. We band of sisters and brothers. Napoleon once stated the most crucial aspect of a general is that he be lucky. And all these people I just talked about, all you people, are where I was lucky. To the degree I had success as a chairman, you are the reason for that success. Each and every one of you. I've had the honor of bookending my working life, first as a commissioned officer in the United States Army, and now as chairman of the Maryland State Board of Elections, and have been privileged to see what is perhaps the best of us as a society. And I wish the best to all of you. Thank you. Thank all. And that just thank you. And that just about concludes this meeting. Disclosure of campaign contributions. Anyone have any disclosures? Ha ha! I have
I
no
can't wait to hear yours.
No disclosures this time. Schedule next meeting has already been done. We are set for March the 25th, 2021, at which time I anticipate the board will be selecting a new chairman. And we are now going to move into closed session. And let me note for our listening audience to include, and I forgot to greet them at the very beginning, our insomniacs in Singapore who watch each and every one of our board meetings. We will not be returning back to an open meeting. We will adjourn completely from the closed meeting. So, as I am required to do, and I'll be reading something about security. I'm going to use 2 paragraphs for security this time for the closed meeting, just so that Nikki knows what I'm talking about. The board will now consider whether to meet in closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice as permitted by section 3305B7 and 8 of the general provisions article. Meeting in closed session would allow the members of the board to seek and obtain legal advice with board counsel without waiver of the attorney-client privilege and obtain information from staff about pending or potential litigation. Also, to discuss public security as permitted by section 30305B10, since a public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or to public security. Meeting in closed sessions allows members to discuss securing the election process without introducing additional risks to the process, as well as discuss network architecture and security of election network as permitted by section 3305B15 of the general provisions article. Meeting in closed session allows the members to discuss the security information systems without introducing additional risks to the process. May I have a motion to meet in closed session?
So moved.
Move second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None. The motion having passed, the board will meet in closed session in accordance with section 3305B7, B8, B10, and B15 of Section 3305 of the Open Meetings Act. May I have a motion to adjourn the open meeting and move to the closed meeting?
So moved.
What time are we coming back together for that? closed meeting?
I show 3:06. How about 3:15?
Good.
3:15 it is in the closed meeting. Thank you, Bill. With that, a second to adjourn this meeting. Seconded. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? None. Declare this meeting adjourned, subject to this open meeting adjourned, subject to the closed meeting. We will enter into at 3:15. See you all, most of you all there. To those of you in Singapore, have a great evening.